Claire Hutley here, head trainer at Clarity Horsemanship. I got a question on one of my previous videos about evaluating and handling a scared horse on the ground and under saddle. We're going to answer that in today's video, showing how to practically use the fifth first principle of equitation science, which we looked at briefly last week. If any of you have questions about topics that I go over, please feel free to ask in the comments below, and like and subscribe so you'll be sure not to miss when I answer your question. The principles in this lesson are the same for groundwork and under saddle work. I'll be speaking mainly about groundwork, but all the responses and techniques can be directly applied to a ridden horse that receives a fright. Let's get right in. The fifth first principle, as you recall from the last video, is about using habituation and calming techniques. Overshadowing is one of these techniques that can be used to get a horse used to new or scary objects, sounds, and movements, and bring them back to a calm state with a level of arousal that is trainable. Remember, arousal that is too low, the horse is asleep, or too high, the horse is exploding, are both ineffective for training. Our goal throughout overshadowing will be to read the horse and ensure we stay in a trainable level of arousal. Backing off a stimulus that is overwhelming but not removing it is perfectly acceptable if you misread the horse's state and apply too much pressure at first. Horses can efficiently process one stimulus at a time. As stimuli stack up, arousal increases as the horse tries to process everything at once. Think of it like a door and a snowdrift. The first gust of wind piles an inch of snow in front of the door. No problem, you can still push the door open and go out to play. Well, what if you wait a bit longer and 10 more gusts come through, each piling between 1 and 3 inches of snow? Now it is going to be very hard to open the door, and you might start to feel trapped or claustrophobic. The horse's brain works like this. The first small thing is easy enough to process, and he gets over it quickly. But if a third, fourth, fifth, and sixth thing are added, the panic begins to rise. The stimulus that is perceived as the most urgent remains dominant, while the others fade a little but still remain there. This is called stimulus stacking, and is often the cause behind so-called sudden or unexpected explosions. In truth, things had been stacking up for quite a while before the horse suddenly can't add another thing and tries to remove himself from the situation. However, we can also use stimulus stacking in a controlled environment to our advantage. If there is one thing the horse is bothered by, say the sounds the clippers make, or a car's engine running, or a new object in the laneway, the trainer can intentionally add the stimulus of a cue that the horse already knows and cause the fearful stimulus to fade into the background. Let's look closer at how to exactly accomplish this. First, the trainer teaches the horse a simple locomotory response. A wise trainer will pick an area that the horse is comfortable in with few distractions to do this initial training. Steps forward and back, flexion and bend, or head up and down are good responses to train with different ideal applications, which we will look at the end. On the training scale, which we visited briefly in the last video, this response should be trained to contact level, so the horse can respond immediately to a light cue with rhythm and on the trainer's line without changing posture. Now the trainer and horse can go and encounter a stimulus that begins to change the horse's level of arousal. At the moment that the trainer notices the change in the arousal is the moment to begin overshadowing. Maybe the head shoots up, or the steps shorten, or he catches his breath. Try to notice the smallest change in arousal for best effects. If the horse is already flying on the end of your lead rope, you missed quite a few subtle signs from your horse prior. To begin overshadowing, the trainer stops at this distance from the stimulus and begins to cue the previously trained response. At first, he will get a dull, sluggish, and potentially even incorrect response from the horse. He will continue to cue and retrain the response until it is back at contact level, immediate, light, rhythmic, on his line, and without posture change. The horse is now habituated to the stimulus at this distance or level. Bring the stimulus closer, turn it up, or move the horse closer, depending on what kind of stimulus you are dealing with, and repeat the overshadowing process until your goal is accomplished. Your goal might be making contact with the horse with the clippers running, or walking past the new object. Let's look at how this works with a real horse and a real scary object. Zephyr is a horse I started as a 3-year-old. He is quite intelligent, but has the tendency to stay on the higher side of the scale of arousal much of the time. He is very sensitive to new sounds, objects, and movements. When Zephyr gets distracted, he looks away, and his neck and shoulders get stiff and stop moving. Then he spooks and tries to run away. Knowing that progression, I taught him to look towards me when I touch a spot on his neck. I then shaped this response to include him walking forward in a small circle with flexion and bend, ensuring his whole body stays relaxed. A tense horse cannot bend. Then we walked up the alleyway from his pen and encountered this. Loud, flappy, big, and new. Da da da. You can see, as we approach the object, that he begins to look for escape routes. As he starts trying to look to avoid the object, I cue my response and we start a circle. We circle there until I have all criteria. Then you'll see we walk closer, and as arousal increases again, I cue again. Very soon, we'll be right beside the object, and the final test is to walk calmly away from it, which he does. If I had been riding him, I would have cued the same things, but using my previously trained ridden cues. The other option is to get off when arousal begins to rise, work through the overshadowing process on the ground, and mount again. Contrary to popular belief, this will not teach a horse to exhibit fear in order to make a rider get off. Falling off or getting off and avoiding the object might do this, but getting off and habituating the horse systematically will result in a habituated horse. You can see as I come through the circle that Zephyr loses some of the rhythm. His front feet stop moving right there. And so I aim to get the rhythm back. So that was a failure on the rhythm part of the scale. I got it back to my satisfaction though, and he was able to walk calmly away from the flapping tarp. Being able to control one or two pairs of legs at a time in forward and backward movement is effective for tight enclosed environments like working in a trailer or alleyway, or for overshadowing small stimuli that can be held, carried, or moved closer to the horse as habituation occurs. Cueing the head down and head up responses is useful as a sort of check-in with the horse. If you aren't sure how aroused the horse is, check whether your head down and head up works smoothly and from a light cue. If nothing happens, you may need to choose another overshadowing method to switch to. If the response occurs but is difficult, overshadow with more repetitions of head up and down until it is smooth. If it is easy right away, you know your horse is in good space. The flexion and bend on a circle that I used in this example is best for stimuli that cannot be easily moved, so that the horse must be the one that moves closer to it during habituation. It can be used for the smaller stimuli too. In conclusion, for overshadowing to work at its best, the horse must first be trained with the response that you will use when encountering a scary stimulus. Stop at the moment that your horse begins to show higher arousal and ensure he is habituated at that level before proceeding. That may sound like it will take a long time, but it takes less time than your horse getting really scared and then having to work with that. Practice the trained response until it is smooth and easy, then bring the horse or the object closer, and repeat the process until your goal is achieved. In this way, you will always stay below your horse's fear threshold and reinforce calm responses to fear.